It's the question that drives us. It's the question that brought you here. So plug in, free your mind. Welcome to Echoes of Eternity.
He was dubbed the Magic Master once upon a time, known for some of the greatest close-up magic performances one would witness. Today, however, he finds the magic in helping others work towards their dream physique and strength goals. Competing in bodybuilding competitions from as young as 18 years of age, today he is the owner of Bodygrid Sports Nutrition and Supplements. He enjoys spending time with his family and goes above and beyond in treating everyone that walks through his doors as family. Known as sensei to some and coach to others, I am so excited to present to you one of the most approachable body transformation coaches in South Africa, Chaz Habib. Chaz, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you, Shamil. Thank you for having me here.
So you can find Chaz on Facebook and Instagram. I'll also drop all the details for Bodygrid Sports Nutrition and Supplements. So if you want to begin your journey of transformation today or wanting to restock on some of your favorite sports supplements, please do give Chaz a shot.
Awesome.
Cool. Chaz, so, I'm going to bring back some memories for you. Hopefully that's...
Sure. 100%.
That's fine. I believe when you were at your, dare I say, peak of your career as a magician,
Yes.
You spent some time on a cruise ship.
Yes.
Briefly, what was that like for you? I'm sure some of us, or many of us, have always wanted to live on a cruise ship,
Of course. That was a great experience, that not only for my foundation of my bodybuilding as well, because I had a lot of spare time. I had unlimited supply of food. I also was busy studying during the spare time that I had on the ship.
Wow.
That when I would come back here, I would do my dream job. That was to be a nutritionist, actually not even a personal trainer. That came after the nutrition. So, it all started, all really happened. The magic happened on the ship as well with the bodybuilding and whatnot. So, the life, living the life on a cruise ship is different for everyone.
Okay.
For some, it's tedious, it's strenuous. You're working 14 hours a day, and it's not 14 hours straight. It's like 2 hours here, 1 hour break. So sometimes the guys don't sleep for more than an hour a day.
Wow.
A solid hour a day for 2 to 3 days straight. They have like a 45-minute nap. But with myself, I would work for 3 hours, maximum 4 hours in the evening between 6 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the day, I was studying, I was bodybuilding, I was eating, like I said, it's a buffet line. So I would have my unlimited amounts of chicken breasts, rice, vegetables, everything was there to my disposal, luckily, because, I was eating my mom out of house and home.
Yeah.
So, yes, thank you, Mom.
Fantastic.
But yeah, so the life on the cruise ship was, for me, one of the best experiences of my life. If I could go back, I would, but, I feel that there's too many people that I'm helping around here, like the community that want me. And I often say, Chaz, if you were to go, we don't know what we would do. We wouldn't want to work with someone else. But I mean, people unfortunately do come and go, coaches do come and go. But for now, the fact that I can control to be here and help the people around me, yes, I'm definitely going to be staying.
That's awesome. Sounds really fun, actually. The sweet life on deck. Really?
Yes, pretty much. You work 3-4 hours, and
Yeah.
the rest of the day, when the guests get off on the next port, I get off with them. I'm a guest, so basically I'm a guest the rest of the day. I'm allowed in all the guest areas. You're allowed to go and eat in the dining rooms. You can pretty much, as a magician, it's free roam because you're an entertainer. So the contract's different to a waiter or such, or the housekeeping. It's very different, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, let's move away a bit from the sweet life on deck, but thanks for sharing that with us.
No problem.
I want to talk about, the topic we're here for, and that's transformation. Now, many who enter the gym do so with a narrative that they, wish to rewrite. And I'm not simply talking about the desire to become physically healthier or stronger, but rather the underlying, narrative or desire that drives these sort of narratives. So for some people, for example, it may just be to get stronger, fitter, healthier. That's why they enter the gym, and that's perfectly fine. But for other people, they enter the gym for other sort of reasons. So it could be a low self-esteem, low confidence, heartbreak, even being bullied. wanting to change that. So what has been your personal, experience? So maybe let me rephrase. So how did you, what was the moment or story when you decided to become a body transformation coach? How did you go from, magician to coach?
So, it was a very gradual process. When I look back, my mom was a bodybuilder. She was also a nutritionist. She basically did the same thing. She still teaches gym classes. She did body assessments. So if I stem back, from my childhood, my dad was also a bodybuilder. My mom won 1998 Miss Natural South Africa.
Wow.
So it was in the family the whole time. And we were always active growing up. Then when I was a little bit older, around 17, when I was still in matric, I started working at a supplement store. From that time, working in that supplement store and helping people a little bit here and there, but not really helping them as to, okay, let's sit down, I'll give you X, Y, and Z, this is the fees, and so on. No, it was more just, I would sell, because I worked in the store, I would sell supplements to them, and then just, based on what I'd learned, guide them from there, how they can improve their diet, how they can, improve this and that. But if I'm looking back and thinking, how did the whole thing actually just happen? I can't even tell you, because I think I just fell in love with the sport. From the age of 17, when I started training, beginning of matric, I was very light. I was weighing, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was 46 or 47. So I wasn't weighing very much. But the results that I got were, in my opinion, they were great, but because I felt like I had the right guidance. So, from that point of then working in the shop, that's when I then went to the cruise ships when I wanted to study. And then I just had that opportunity after matric. They gave me that opportunity. The cruise line, it wasn't something I had applied for. It wasn't something I was expecting. I did magic at all the Spurs for 4 years before that. I started as a young teenager doing magic at the Spurs as a side job on the weekends. So somehow they had contacted me, and the cruise liner wanted me to go work on the cruise liner as a table magician, like a table entertainer. And that's when I thought, okay, I'm going to take this, but not also waste time and study what I want to do down there, so that when I do come back, I will be at least qualified and ready to go. And when I came back, I went straight back into the same supplement store. We're busy working. At that point, then I started consulting a couple of people, and it sort of just snowballed from there. I think that's when I came back, was when I really found the passion to help other people. And like I said, I only think it's purely because what I felt within myself from doing the right things. And when I realized it's actually not difficult, and I saw people struggling around me all the time, all my friends struggling, and I'm thinking, but I'm getting the results. And I wasn't doing anything crazy. I was just doing what all the bodybuilders had done for all the years. Yes. I always say, if you want to transform your body, for the most part, just look at how the bodybuilders eating. There's no need to do all these crazy diets that are going on at the moment. I don't want to mention any, but there are a lot of bizarre diets that are out there that are quick fixes. It's not a lifestyle. You need to eat for health. If you eat for health and you fix what's happening on the inside, it will start showing on the outside.
No, thanks for that, Chaz. So if I had to sort of summarize it a bit, I don't want to take away from all that you've shared, but really for you, it was obviously you grew up in a family that was, very familiar with bodybuilding and everything that goes with that. But it was also a passion that you eventually fell in love with, and you really wanted to help other people. And that's why you just went all in, right?
100%.
With this. Oh, that's fantastic. I want to personify transformation for a second, right? For some, it can be this large, scary monster, and for others, an embracing friend. What has been your personal experience with transformation? Do you feel like sometimes it's this monster and, you're scared to even, face it? And then at other times it's a friend, and it's never just one, or the other.
So as the years have gone on, I used to be a very strict coach, 12-week transformation coach. In 12 weeks, we'll get your body from point A to point B. And then that was it. Then I was happy my job was done. The client's in shape, give them a maintenance plan, and then they go on their way. But as I started going on in the years, I saw a repeat happening, that the people would rebound. So just as nature would take its course, I guess, with anything, I started just changing things without even realizing, to make things easier on the client, to make it also easier mentally, because I used to be very strict. So, you allow this and this and this and nothing else. And if you deviate, I won't help you again. I'll do one more assessment,
Yes.
because, you need to take this so serious. And I wasn't very understanding, because for me, I had a very easy life. I was living at home. My food was being prepared for me. I wasn't paying for the food. I didn't have children to run around after. I was working a very simple job, to literally just a couple of hours a day. When I say simple, a couple of hours a day.
Okay.
So I guess I took that for granted, and then realized that as I got older, it's not easy. It's not easy to maintain 24/7. I may say I'm a transformation coach, but yes, it's not just a body transformation. It's a body and the mind, because the two need to work in sync. If your body and mind are disconnected, then you're not going to be able to cope. If it's just the body involved in this, it's very egotistical. If I can say that without being rude, it's very egotistical. And the problem is that when it's just purely for the body, because it's a superficial reason, it's not going to last. It's not true. It's not a true reason. This needs to be something from within that you want to continue for the rest of your life. Like I said, I'm a transformation coach, but transform doesn't mean to get to a point B anymore, in my opinion. Transform means to take your current lifestyle where you're at now and transform it into something beautiful, into waking up in the morning, exercising, having something healthy to eat first thing in the morning as you wake up. Whatever it may be, different things implemented into your day that you weren't doing before to make you a healthier individual, live a longer and happier life that has no end. You can't say anymore that there is an end to a transformation, because there's not. There's not at all. There's so many speed bumps along your journey that one will experience, and that everyone experiences. And, I'm trying to get through to the clients nowadays not to take those speed bumps to heart. Yes, learn from them as best as you can, take from them. So, for example, let's say a small speed bump, you missed gym today because there was traffic on the way home from work. So then they would do nothing. Instead, it's fine. You got stuck in traffic. You had to be home at a certain time. Get yourself a skipping rope. Skip for 20, 30 minutes. Don't make an excuse, because everyone is in that habit of making excuses. So everyone, it's more, and that's where we're going to get on now. What I've learned from my biggest mentor in my life, that would be my sensei, Sandra Lomashian. I'm sure everyone that's listening to this podcast probably has heard of her somewhere, but she is now 19 times world champion in karate. And she's been my sensei since I was 3-4 years old. And that's where that discipline got instilled within me. Yes, my parents brought me up very well with a lot of discipline, but the karate, after I left my parents' house even, learning what I've learned from Shia and Sandra over the last, let's say, 10 years alone, that discipline is on another level. And if I can just try and get through to everyone how to have that discipline and how to instill that discipline in your life, because once you have your discipline, there's no need to worry about how am I going to maintain, how am I going to do this, how am I going to be motivated. And there's no such thing. You can't always be motivated.
Yes.
Imagine you were always motivated. What a wonderful thing. I don't know anyone in all my years of consulting. I mean, I've consulted thousands of people. I haven't found one person that's been motivated permanently. But the people that have motivation and that still do well in the end, and their motivation dips, it's where discipline has to kick in. Because that discipline is vital for a healthier, happier life. Because at the end of the day, if you haven't got your health, you actually haven't got anything.
Yes.
I don't know one happy person that's sitting in hospital. Not one.
No, definitely.
They might put on a face that they're happy and whatnot superficially, but deep down inside they're broken. And a lot of the hospital cases, a lot of deaths could have been prevented from just living a good, healthy lifestyle. So, in my opinion, if you want to live a pain-free and a happy life, you need to look after yourself. If you don't look after yourself, unfortunately, that is the consequences.
Yeah, Chaz, I think you've said so much there. I mean, there's so much wisdom just in that one. And
Thanks, Shami.
there's a few elements I want to touch on. I have to throw out my script now. You touched on so many awesome points. I mean, you speak of, transformation is not just about the body, but it's also about the mind.
Yes.
Right? Maybe just elaborate for us, because I think many people might not understand that relationship and why you almost, it's not impossible, but it's difficult to do the one without the other.
Yes.
It almost works hand in hand. What has that maybe experience been for you personally? How did you kind of get that connection working for you, or how did you come to that, let's call it, enlightenment?
So most definitely the 21 principles of Miyamoto Musashi. So when we went to a gashko is a training camp for karate. So it's usually over 2 to 4 days, and you train quite intensely, but also you learn a lot. Your sensei sits with you. She teaches you in the mountain. We went up to not Michalisburg, Delstrom, and we did this in the mountains over there. And it was very samurai setting. And, we all had our katanas with us, and, we did the whole formation around our senseis. If we were actually, traveling like how the samurais used to travel through Japan, through the mountains, in an offense and defense positions,
Wow.
so we had to strategize. We had random ambushes from other teams. So it was very cool. It was a great time. But most of all, the amount of wisdom that I had gained from that session was it sits with me so deep that it will never go. And in that lesson is when we learnt about Miyamoto Musashi's 21 principles of Dakota. So basically the 21 principles of a martial artist samurai, if you could say. Mm-hmm. Now, to touch on that body and mind, I just want to grab a quote on my phone over here that will just
maybe,
reinforce
you
that.
You can also share that link, and then I'll drop that link for everyone as well, so they can kind of read through these principles that Chaz talks about. I think it could be quite interesting, and maybe some of it would resonate with you as well.
Most definitely. If people could follow these principles, there's 21 of them. Not saying you have to implement all, because there are one or two that don't really, they don't really work with our current lifestyle anymore. There are one or two that, you'll look at them and you'll think, but that's impossible. For example, number 19 is, don't collect money and wealth and things like that. You need to live your live your life day by day, and don't worry about, having gold. And we're talking many years ago. So don't worry about, having land and that, because, you must worry about yourself and things like that, but not too much of the future. The samurai had a very different mindset to the current average day way of thinking, completely different, but their principles are incredible for discipline. There's no two ways about that. So when it comes to the body and the mind, it's very easy to get the body to transform. All you need to do is have strong willpower and stay motivated. But yet again, that is gonna go, and that's when now your mind really needs to kick in. So one of the things that really hit home over here was number 2: do not seek pleasure for its own sake. So it might just be a one sentence line there, but let's get a little bit in depth to that. So do not get emotionally attached to pleasure. Pleasure for the sake of pleasure lowers your level as a human being and makes you less human and more animalistic. If you did not understand the previous point, think of people who are addicted to drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, food, or whatever. They only have one God, their fix. Now, this next line I'm going to read to you should also hit home for a lot of people. Pleasure in itself will not fulfill you. Satisfaction is secondary to purpose. Happiness is a byproduct of achievement, self-understanding, and calmness. So what it's really basically saying is that if you're looking at how that temporary satisfaction, which, like it says, satisfaction is secondary to purpose. Satisfaction doesn't make us happy. You might say, oh, I love a bar one. You go have that bar one, in that moment you're loving it, right? And even if you're not going to feel guilty afterwards, but afterwards you're not happy. You're not now walking around with a smile on your face and, going on and enjoying your day. Now you're happy chap from being not happy. That is where that comes in. That satisfaction is secondary to purpose. You need a purpose. We need to wake up with a purpose every day. And that's not just to survive. We need to live. We need to live our lives.
Yeah.
And, sorry, do you want to talk?
No. So I just want to say, I mean, there's so much like great, like golden nuggets of wisdom that you're dropping here. But maybe just for us, so, I mean, yeah, you've spoken of, motivation doesn't last forever. And I 100% agree with that. And the discipline is very important to have because, like you say, motivation only maybe gets you so far, but discipline gets you like to the end, right? There's no end, but it gets you to the end. It carries you through. Maybe just from your own personal experience, what are some of the anchors that kind of, hold you down and sort of, keeping your discipline?
So what keeps anchoring me down is my principles. I probably read through these twice a week.
Okay.
I read through them twice a week and just remind myself of why I need to do this. Do I want to do this or do I want to do that? If I skip gym today, is it going to make me happier? Or will I just temporarily feel relief because I have one less task to do? But then I know in actual fact, deep down inside, what I should be doing, because that is my purpose. It's to maintain my body, and there's one quote that sits in my head and it will never leave. And that is, you only have one place to live, and that is in your body. Too many people are so worried about having a beautiful home, a beautiful car, which no problem.
Yes, sure.
But they forget about their bodies. They completely forget about their bodies. And that is the only place they actually really have to live. You might have a 50 million rand home, but if your body is not in a good state, when your body, your actual home goes, you now really know where to live.
Wow.
So to maintain your vessel is your utmost number one priority in your life. And it doesn't take much. It just takes simple things. Exercise, get your body moving every single day. 6 days a week, let's call it 5 days a week even. If you don't exercise, twice a week in the beginning. Move to every second day. But try get 30 minutes in every single day. And, resist a little bit of resistance training, a little bit of cardiovascular exercise, that's important. Having healthy food, avoid processed foods. Not saying that we must now, walk on a straight path because the wheels do fall off on any journey every now and then, but not to beat yourself up and feel guilty. But like I always say, learn from the mistake. And even if you don't learn from having your chocolate that you weren't supposed to have, it's okay. As long as you know that your next meal and whatever you can have next will be on a healthy track, and you still have that objective in your mind that your body is your temple and it's a vessel that you need to look after, because without looking after it, you're not going to be happy in the future. That's for sure.
No, agreed. I think that's well said. We've spoken a lot about, discipline, motivation, and, this mind and body connection almost. I want to talk about this. I think it's quite an important dimension of transformation, and that's open-mindedness. And now for me, one dimension of open-mindedness is just being coachable. Do you feel like we all have the capacity to be coachable? In other words, to learn from others? And what is the attitude of someone that is, coachable? And I'm asking this because, you get people that are not always open to new perspectives or ideas. You speak about like eating the bar one, for example, and there's probably someone at home, watching and is like, no, I want my bar one or whatever. Don't tell me what to do kind of attitude. So, yeah, do you feel like we all have that capacity to be coachable? And, what is, some of the traits of someone who is coachable? From the clients that you've obviously trained and coached.
Yes.
I'm sure the best ones were the ones who were open-minded.
Most definitely. You have to firstly trust me. If the client doesn't trust me that I've got their best interest at heart, they're not going to be coachable. And yes, every now and then you do get someone that is not coachable, and I can try, and you just don't get through to them. But they need to realize themselves, and they need to, eventually have that internal battle. And usually it's those people where they'll have a heart attack. something will go wrong, and then that is when they realize that they were wrong and that they needed to do X, Y, and Z. So unfortunately, a lot of the people that are uncoachable or that are stubborn against the process, usually a health consequence gets in the way, and that's when it's a bit of a rude awakening for them.
Sure, Chaz, like you've said so much before that's like just, resonating with me in my mind. I've got so many questions, but I think something that I want to touch on, just moving away from, the discipline and motivation aspects. And I think we all struggle with it, but and you mentioned it at the beginning as well about transformation there's never an end. It's not a 12-week program and then you're done, and it will carry you to eternity. But detaching ourselves from the results of our work, right, is something I think we all struggle with. And I want to talk about expectations a bit as well, because I think the two, results and expectations go hand in hand. And when, the results sort of exceed our expectations, it's not always, but sometimes very easy to forget the hurdles we had to overcome. Or, we even tend to forget the people that were there for us along that journey. And when, our expectations fall short, or rather the results fall short of our expectations, we can, it leads to feelings of frustration and we can be depleted and discouraged. How do we actually begin, detaching ourselves from the result?
So that's a very good question. If I think about, like I said, there is no end to the journey. Yes, someone will come in and I'll say, how would you like to look? After I've done the assessment, we discuss that at the end of the assessment. So what is your goal? What is your real, outcome? Do you have a picture? Do you have something in mind? And generally everyone always has a photo on their phone and they say, I would like to look like this.
Yes.
And it is nice and would be amazing to look like however a client wants to look. And we can, of course, get a client there. Many people do get there. But there are a lot of people that don't get there very quick. And some people may never get there because they have too many speed bumps along the way. But the most important thing is that you keep trying. The wheels can fall off every single day for some people. And I've got a lot of clients where every second to third day they'll break their diet, they'll miss gym, they'll do something, but they're still trying. They're still busy going for it. Yes, you may not reach that physique goal that you're trying to have in mind, but you mustn't worry about that because in actual fact, there is no guarantee on tomorrow in life itself. So by chasing that dream, you need that. You need that for your motivation and your discipline. You need that dream. You must have, I want to look like this.
Yes.
Because it's not, it doesn't have to always be an image thing. It can be, I would like my cholesterol to come down by this amount. I want my blood pressure to come down. I want to get off of these medicines. It doesn't always have to be a physical aspect. It can be something internal that's happening in the body. But to have that goal in mind, we do need that goal. But don't be obsessed with that goal. Take day by day. Learn to take one day at a time, because if you're not taking one day at a time, you're going to lose track of life and you're going to just live in the future the whole time. You must, too many people take tomorrow for granted. And especially in this journey, because I always talk about, when they're done with their transformation. When they're done with their transformation, you might not see the end of your transformation, my friend.
Yes, yeah.
You might not wake up in the morning tomorrow. So, you may have done something that was a speed bump today. Now you beat yourself up the entire day. You're unhappy for the rest of the day. You lift up your cortisol levels, which doesn't help the process of losing body fat at all as well. And you're stressed for what? When you may not wake up tomorrow morning.
Yes. No, I think that's so good. And maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong here, because you read those 21 principles?
Yes, that's right.
Twice a week. But there was something I picked up, just on, managing expectations and, working towards detachment. But I think there's one principle that speaks of, thinking lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. And I think that sort of resonates with this. And you've said so much as well, it's about the journey as opposed to the end result. And you mentioned it before as well on, I think it was purpose. And, embarking on this sort of journey, it gives you a purpose, and it's important to have goals, but, you shouldn't feel like there's an end. There's always something more you can work towards.
Definitely.
maybe just on that, and again, I think it's circling back a bit, to motivation and the discipline bit. And you've mentioned it a few times that the wheels do fall off, right? As a coach, what do you say to your clients? Those that are beating themselves up for, missing their training session, or having a cheat meal when they shouldn't be. And they come to you and they say, Chaz, I feel like I can't do this anymore. I've, skipped one gym session and it's like the end of the world. I'm not going to, meet my goal. What do you say to those clients?
You do get a lot of people are like
Yes.
that, actually, plenty. Some people, they'll cancel their next weigh-in because they had an extra cheat meal or they missed a gym session, so they want another week to work at it to come get better results. But you can't cry over spilled milk. What's done is done. You can only learn from that lesson. Don't, for example, I like to give you examples.
Sure.
You were at work, someone brought cake for someone's birthday, and you had a piece of cake. Now you feel guilty the rest of the day. Don't forget that lesson that you learned. Don't forget that lesson of guilt that you felt. That is your lesson there, that feeling of guilt, because that didn't make you happy. Yet again, that's exactly why, because a samurai never does anything that goes against the internal code of ethics. Well, they're not supposed to.
They're not supposed to.
So now what happens is when you do, as a human, go and do something that goes against your internal code of ethics, the first thing that you get is guilt. And that's not a happy feeling. So, and that comes from one of the previous points I spoke about is do not seek pleasure for pleasure itself, for the sake of pleasure. You need to earn it. You need to work for it. So pleasure is going to the gym, successfully completing your workout, having your next healthy meal. Because when you're done that, your taste buds might not be jumping for joy, but I can see now you're going to be happy. You're going to have that true happiness for the rest of the day. You're not going to have that guilt hovering above your head. So don't cry over spilled milk. Think about how you felt. Think about how your emotional state was for the rest of the day after you did that, because you weren't supposed to do that. Even though you did, it goes against your internal code of ethics, and it brings upon these feelings that we don't want. So that's all I can say is, just learn from the little mistakes that you make. And as your journey goes along, the speed bumps do get a lot less. That is one thing I can tell you now. As long as you keep trying day in and day out, it's not going to be a one bumpy journey.
Yes.
It gets smoother. The longer you do it, the more you do it, it becomes your lifestyle. Because like I said, this is a transformation of a lifestyle, not just a body. It's a whole lifestyle transformation. So once you've transformed your lifestyle into what it's supposed to be, you're not in a transformation anymore. You're just in a state of living and doing how your life is now supposed to be. This is your new life. You're now not doing anything now special anymore. This is what you have to do.
Yeah, it's just your life.
It's how you are now. Yes.
I think that's brilliant. That speaks volumes, right? It's not about meeting or trying to work towards some picture that you have in mind, but it's really about changing your lifestyle. And I think that speaks volumes. And hopefully, we've managed to convince some people who shy away from, because there are people that shy away from, the training aspects or eating healthy and so on, just because it's easier not to, right? Because let's not kid ourselves. In the beginning, before it becomes your lifestyle, it's not easy. It's not easy to also build that discipline. It's not easy to, you're sitting there on the bench, you're training, you're lifting those weights, and it can be painful. It's not always fun, right? I mean, okay, fun is different for everyone, but it's quite painful as well. So hopefully we've managed to, you've spoken of happiness and purpose, and hopefully it resonates with our listeners today as well. Just maybe in closing, something that people might not know, Chaz, and I actually like to ask this question to like teachers and coaches, but I think often in helping others, there is something that we learn about ourselves that we never imagined possible before. And now you actually, open your doors to people with physical and mental disabilities as well. Probably one of the few coaches, we spoke about this offline a bit. You're one of the few coaches that, open your doors to these people. What has been like the greatest lesson that you've learned about yourself, so far as in your journey as a coach and helping people?
So, what I've learned most about myself, helping people. Sure, this is like a very tricky one for me because there's actually so much. There is so much. I learn from people's mistakes. So when I see my clients making mistakes, it's often mistakes that I make myself. Sometimes I've overlooked it because it's me, biased there. But you learn from other people's mistakes, and in helping them, I'm actually helping myself. Sometimes when I'm talking to a client and I'm reaffirming something, I often speak about my principles to my clients, and I'll reaffirm it to the client. But I know subconsciously I'm speaking again to myself, to reaffirm that. So the entire time when I'm busy helping a client, a lot of it applies to myself too, because I'm human too.
Yes.
I'm also on this journey of trying to I'm still not fully transformed. I'm not where, in terms of not physical, no, but my lifestyle. I'm still not even yet where I want to be in terms of, okay, now I'm at that part of this is how I need to live my life for the next however long and maintain that. I'm still busy working on, also there's speed bumps along the way. You move homes, you do this, you do that. And as much as you try not to make excuses, life does happen and it gets in the way and the wheels fall off, and they didn't have to fall off. For example, having a takeaway, if this happens or XYZ happens, you didn't need the takeaway. You very well could have had a can of tuna and 2 rice cakes.
Yes.
But that's those little learning curbs that when my clients will give an excuse for this, then, I will think, but that's a very poor excuse. And the next time maybe that's about to happen in my life, the same incident might happen to me. Then I think, well, I just told, Sam that this is not a very good excuse. But I can't now make that excuse myself, because as a coach, you have to practice what you preach.
Yes.
You have to.
That's fantastic. Sure, I'm just trying to process, everything you've spoken about. You've said so much that hopefully resonates with everyone. Cool. Let's get to our reflections segment. I'm very excited about this segment. So the reflections segment is where we ask our guests to bring along with them an object or quote that powerfully resonates with them or has had some impact on their journey or just has some meaning, to them. Chaz, maybe for our listeners, show us, our viewers, show us what you've brought, describe the object for those listening in, and then tell us the story behind it.
Perfect. So basically this is a katana. It's a training katana, so it is made of wood.
Obviously, it's made of wood.
That's it. It doesn't have a sheath that can't come out. It's a one solid piece.
Yes.
So we use this for training, but this was gifted to me from Shian Sandra Lowe around the time that we did that training Gashku that I mentioned in Delstrom, and this I guess has just it helps me keep mentally on track. Because it's just there as a reminder of who I am, where I come from, my achievements throughout my years, and just to stay on the journey and on the right route. Whenever I see the katana, then I think back to the day I received it, and that feeling that I had, and I try, because I was in a very, very good state at that point. Not saying I'm not now, but that state that I was in, I've tried to carry through these years and have that same feeling. About life and discipline, and to try and keep those ways, because that has had a big impact. So whenever I see this, then it's just a reality check, I guess, that that is who I am, and where I've come from, and it's my background.
That's so amazing. That's really beautiful, and thanks for bringing this through. I think it actually dies in everything so nicely. I mean, you've mentioned, speed bumps. We've spoken of discipline, motivation, and I think when the going gets tough, it's so important for us to reflect back on those moments where we were extremely, let's not use the word extremely, but we're happy, we're content, we felt motivated. And in those bottoms, it's just so important to remember all of that and then try and get back to that state. And I think having something like this for you, I think it's exactly that for you, right?
Most definitely. Sits there in my office. Yeah. Every day I get to see it.
That's fantastic.
It's that reminder.
Beautiful. Thanks for bringing this through. Chaz, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. The time flies by. You probably have a lot more to share, so maybe we'll have you back on the show. Thank
Awesome.
you for your
Thank you
time.
so much.
Is there anything else you'd like to add from your side? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I think just, for all the listeners and viewers that are scared to take the process of starting to transform their lives, there's nothing to be scared of at all. Even if it means going outside for a brisk walk once a week to start. Getting a healthy meal once a day versus 3 unhealthy meals a day. Start slow and you build up from there. There's no need to rush it. If you rush it, the wheels fall off 100%. The slower you take your journey, the more you can put the pieces together and start understanding and actually give yourself time to enjoy the journey. Not think this is a rush thing and put pressure, because there should be no pressure whatsoever about the journey. Like I said, it must be something that starts to flow and something that becomes enjoyable for you.
No, definitely.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Chaz.
Thank you for having me, Shamil.
Awesome.